March or? It's not really international women's day, what? Power.
About? All right. Thank you.
Should be nice, 100 quid.
Can you pick up your camera, please? You can't take no video or anything. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Hannah, we've come to the end of your silent walk through Wolverhampton city centre.
Yep.
Did you enjoy it?
I really did. I thought an hour's quite a long time to be silent, walking through a city, lots of people staring at you. But actually it went very quickly, and I think it's the strength that's in silence in a collective, and there's so many things that are joining you together. You're in the same situation, that you are vulnerable together in the city with the public, and so there's so much collectivism and strength and unity there that you share between each other, because you're all going through the same thing. And it was just enjoyable is not the right word. It's always beautiful to feel strength in numbers, especially with the change in the political climate and things like that. As women, I don't think we come together enough just to be still with each other and to be aware that we share the same aggravations and stresses in life, or that we can do the same positive things together. So it was humbling and strong, and that's what I enjoyed.
Right, you had a variety of responses from the public. Could you just run through those and tell me what you thought?
Well, one of my ladies got kissed on the mouth, which highlighted an interesting point, actually, that if women are being silent, or women who feel they need to be silent, then they can't speak against things happening to them that they aren't given permission for. And actually, Emily, who was standing on the end in silence, showed that to us because a man came up to her and kissed her on the mouth. And they were taking photographs of her bare legs and things like that. And that sexual objectification that she's not given permission for is happening just in the open, in the centre. And that, it's terrible really, but it did highlight a very important issue that I hadn't thought might happen. I knew that we'd feel a bit vulnerable, but I didn't think anyone would physically touch us. So it does highlight how much strength is there in numbers and what can we do to change that, because clearly being in a group together didn't make that particular individual feel like he couldn't do something, and that's quite scary. Then we had a lot of really beautiful and positive responses where people would be angry or confused, but as soon as they got a card that said "Deeds not words," which was a quote from Emily Pankhurst, and it just says International Women's Day at the bottom. That recognition then of we are here together, we're showing you something, we're not going to speak about it, and that what you do is more important than what you say. And I think the cards really helped people connect with that. And then when you take that and you put it along with the visual image you're getting, the physical presence, people went from berating and confusion to just silence and respect, and I thought that was beautiful. Security guards were interesting. They felt incredibly threatened by 10 women standing in white in silence in a line in the middle of the shopping centre. And I was wondering if somebody would try and stop us. But it's just that threat, isn't it, of what's this being used for? Is it commercial? Have you paid to do this? Do you have permission? When you're in a public shopping centre and you are doing nothing but standing still in silence as a group of women, because we weren't behaving in the way that normal shoppers would, which is bustling about buying things and talking, it was threatening. And I just found it hilarious that 4 very big, burly male security guards were going, "What are these silent, calm women doing? They're disrupting things, doing nothing." But as soon as someone explained to them that half of it was in remembrance of women past, suffragettes and anybody who's been a female activist, where they've had to give their time and their lives for something, they said that you could take photos anyway. So then that was something else. They felt threatened by that, but they couldn't. They then knew that they would get into more trouble by trying to silence it. I stopped a lot longer than I was supposed to, just to make sure that the security guards had gone away before I did. I wouldn't have moved if they'd stood there staring at me.
Did the fact that you're wearing white have a strong an impact as you expected?
Yeah, I think so. Creating that unity right from the very beginning for us as a group to feel like a collective strength together, and that's the most important thing, is because if we don't feel it as a group, nobody else is going to feel that power. So you have to really believe what you're doing, and I think having that unity in the white and the purple is the starting strength for us, and then as a visual aid to other people. And white is, yes, it's got connotations of suffragettes, but it's also very pure, it's very hopeful. Yes, it could also be in remembrance, in prayer. It works with the silence. It's striking. It's everything that it needs to be, and it can pick out so many different associations for people. And I wanted it to be ambiguous. I wanted it to be left open for people to say, well, this could be in remembrance. This could be in prayer. This could be hope for the future. This can be, innocence, and then you connect it to a group of women together. What is it that has happened to these women? And you start to pick out all these different things. So it had to be one colour together, and a lot of the suffragettes wore white or black, but I didn't want it to be in a funeral procession. It needed to be in remembrance of what women did that we can continue now, and that's why it was white. It was hopeful. It's not something that's stopping, it's something we can continue into the future. Not just me, but my children and my children, as long as we keep on being active. I think the people who came, I've got a lot of love and respect for them. It's a very hard thing to do. I know that 1 or 2 women were getting emotional because you are standing, moving through the public. The silence makes you incredibly vulnerable. You're there with a message and you don't know how people are going to take it. And every single woman got a slightly different response depending on where they were standing or what they were doing. Because some women were giving out cards, some weren't. Some were holding hands, some were on the ends. The end is going to be more vulnerable. It can be an incredibly emotional and vulnerable thing that they're putting themselves in.
There were some placards, you decided not to use those?
Yeah, they were there, weren't they?
Yes,
I didn't ask for any placards. I don't know whether they were from the protest earlier, but if you start thrusting a message in people's faces, there's several negative things that can happen there. One, you're cutting down the amount of associations and interpretations people can have, which actually, if you're too in your face about that, people close off. There's a hell of a lot more power in silence and individual inquisitive nature. So if you're in silence and they can see that there's a link because of the colours and because of the movements, but they can't quite put their finger on it. They're going to edge closer and they're going to want to know why, and then you give them a card that has a message and a name on that, again, can be interpreted in several ways. And that will stick in people's minds a lot more than going, this is a feminist march, respect women, because it's supposed to be everybody's interpretations and everyone's association to what we are presenting, and it should mean, and it's okay for several people to have several ideas about that. I was always taught that if you give someone an answer, they'll resent you for it. Just give them a question, and that's more powerful, because questions, they force people to want to find the answer, and when you found the answer yourself, that stays with you, and it's a strength and a respect for yourself.
Yes, I shall ponder on that. Thank you for the philosophy.
Sorry.
Right. Is there anything that I've missed that you'd like to get down on film?
No, I mean, I'd like to hopefully do this as an annual thing. So hopefully next year, and hopefully double the numbers. Although I'm going to ponder that because this did work as a small group, so I don't think I'd have any more than 20 women. Just for manoeuvring doors and
this time
stairs.
next year, won't you be in the Royal College of Art?
I can come down for a Saturday.
Right.
I had a lot of backlash from people saying, why aren't you on the NHS march? Because you're being selfish doing this. You should be over in London as a collective, as more people together for something important. And the problem I have with that is, London is not the epicentre of everything. Yes, I am going there to the RCA, but that is because I want to study my craft in more detail, and it's a good school. London is not the epicentre. There is hardly any funding pumped into Wolverhampton, and that is why people are apathetic, and we have to engage people again. If you're not doing memorable acts and deeds everywhere, then what are you doing? You're not spreading engagement and political change if it's in one place, because people feel separated. So no, it wasn't important to go to the NHS march in London because it's already got citizens living there. It's Wolverhampton and other places that don't get as much support as the epicentres, as the major cities, that need to be engaged and need to be made to feel that they can have a voice again. Just because other people aren't listening doesn't mean we have to take that. So that made me rather angry.
Right. It was negative from the group of people that you deal with here, or was it from people you...
Well, you advertise online, don't you, and you get a lot of people going, well, that's just stupid, why don't you just join together and be more numbers in London? Because London's not the only place you can make change happen, which shouldn't be, and if that's the world we live in, then that needs changing anyway.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.